Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope it's a good one. And I realize for some of you, of course, Monday is already over. Well, this is Ryker Gray from the past, hoping that you had a good Monday. And one thing that we are all synchronized on is that our weekend is over. And I've been here long enough to know that sometimes that's a bit of a bummer. I understand. But look, at least when the weekend ends, we have Monday to look forward to. And one of the most exciting things about a Monday is, of course, induction. So you know what that means. Today's the day. But first, I have to grab something. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Oh, you're not back yet? All right, I'll wait. Okay. Just waiting for him to get, oh, you're back. Cool, all right. Have a seat. So, today I'm very excited because we're inducting 2 new members into the TRICOM. I was going to call it the Ryker Initiative Community, but that felt weird, even though that's what that is. So I don't know why that felt weird. So I'm excited. So the first new member. Is our friend, the Spaniard. Welcome, the Spaniard. The Spaniard makes videos on YouTube about games and stuff like that. I actually found him before he joined, so it was a real trip to see him join because I thought, wait, is that guy whose videos I was just watching? And it is. How cool. So, the Spaniard, welcome. If you're watching right now, you should have privileges now to engage in the entire TRICOM. Hooray! But no, I am excited to have you. And I know that the rest of the TRICOM is very excited to have you. I joke because I don't know how much there is to really be for you to be excited about yet. But you're here, and that's what matters. The perks will come. But first, connections. And I'm happy to make a connection with you, the Spaniard. So welcome. And if you're watching, feel free to jump into the live chat channel and say hello. Everyone is already greeting you, so welcome. And our second inductee, our second newest member to the Ryker Initiative community is Renata. Or is it Vernata? Because W's. I don't know. Renata? Vernata? Or perhaps I will just mumble the beginning. Renata. Renata. Then way if it's one or the other, I could pretend like I'm doing both. I'm very happy to have you. And it looks like you made your way over here from the Wavemakers Discord. I've never talked about the Wavemakers Discord here before. So, yeah. One day, we may discuss that. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you joining Wavemakers. I mean, that server. That server has been a one of those things, one of those projects that when you probably all have had experiences like this, that you have an idea for something and you're very excited about it, and you realize that if this is gonna happen, you got to do something. You've got to do something. So whatever it is, you do it. And sometimes, for one reason or another, you just can't make much progress past that first initial step. And in a year like this, we all have excuses. Problem is, Wavemakers has been around for many years. So, the excuses are probably running thin. But one neat thing is over the years, people will jump into that Wavemakers Discord and they'll say hello. Might get a couple people saying hi. But ultimately, activity over there is just not enough for what people want to see. Even though it's sort of a catch-22 because you have to be the activity. You can't just come expecting others to do it. And what's really neat about it is in the last couple of weeks, something happened over there. And I don't know what it is. There's been a couple of new people who have just been really awesome. And they've been communicating and I don't know, like there has been just such a good vibe coming out of that Discord. And while I don't have a lot of time to spend there, when I pop in, I'm just, I don't know, it's the greatest feeling in the world. Because I never thought that would ever be, I thought it was a failed thing, but I just wasn't ready to cut it off, to shut it down. And through no effort of my own, other people came in and they've been making it a really neat and really encouraging place. And you know, in the last week or so, we've been discussing some collaborative projects that we're starting to work on over there, and it's just so cool. Even though I'm not able to be as involved as I want to be right now, but I love it. You hop over there and you see people. I don't know. I love it. I'm gonna find a way, if not by the end of the year, then definitely in the new year, to really do something with that Discord for those people who have sort of started picking up that ball and running with it. I feel so encouraged by seeing people over there chatting and collaborating and sharing information and answering questions, and so organically. It's the most organic thing ever, and I love it. And I know it's not what a lot of people are looking for when they're looking for a synthwave Discord. You know, they want to see a lot of activity and a lot of value, and there's not really a lot of value in there yet, but there are some amazing artists in that Discord. Absolutely amazing artists. Artists that you know. If you're a synthwave fan, there are artists in that Discord that you are a fan of. I can guarantee it. There's not a lot of activity, and when it first started, it looked a little different, but it's neat to see. And I just keep thinking in the back of my mind, you know, I haven't left the Discord. I haven't shut it down and given up on it. And all the people who have joined, most of them are still there. Even though they're not doing much, they're still there. They still hung on for some reason. They haven't left yet. And I get it. Maybe some people just, you know, they don't prune their servers or whatever. But I choose to think that, I don't know, maybe people are just hanging on. Just in case something ever happens. Just in case something interesting goes down. And now it feels, in 2020, because why not? All of a sudden, there's shit going down over there. And it's exciting. And I'm excited. And I definitely don't want to go over there and spam all this, even though I have shared stuff from the Ryker initiative over there. And I don't want to come over here and spam that stuff. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to Renetta for coming on over and for joining the Wavemakers Discord, man. I hope you have a good time over there, and I hope you join us in the collab that we're doing. So welcome. Welcome to the Ryker Initiative community. Speaking of which, I did want to mention, you know, Renetta, if you're a musician, if you're making music or any media, and the same for the Spaniard and the same for all of you, you guys are all encouraged. Not only are you welcome, you're encouraged to share the stuff that you're working on. Share your creativity with the TRICOM. This is not the kind of Discord that's open to the public to where we have to sort of have a special channel for sharing links, you know, and have hard rules on spamming and all this stuff. And I mean, I've been on those Discords that are big, and you think that, well, I don't want to disparage anything. That's not the point. The point is, the TRICOM is for you guys It's for you to share your projects, whatever you're into. So if you're making videos on games or on whatever it is, find the appropriate channel in the TRICOM and share your stuff. And if you would like to go into detail and you're willing to share insights about how you're making your videos or your music or your art, then please post your stuff in the Show and Tell channel. And somebody may have insight or feedback or questions that you might be able to provide answers to. And this is one of the benefits to a small private community like this, is that it is much easier to not get bombarded by people's spam. Because if someone joins just to be spamming their stuff, obviously, Raid's not going to appreciate that. But real TRICOM members are absolutely encouraged to be creative, to make things and share those things. Even if it's not something that anyone over here is interested in from your perspective. Because I can speak for a lot of us and say that we are interested in creativity. So whatever you're doing, if you would like to share it, then by all means, share. And if you don't want to talk about it, but you just want to drop a link, that's fine. We've got the VHS channels, and there should be something in there. If not specific to what you're doing, throw it in the VHS general channel, drop the link and walk away, and that's totally fine. I'm this way myself. I might spend 18 hours working on a single piece of content, and I want to put that piece of content out there, but I don't want to talk about it. I don't know why that is. I don't understand. And I sit here right now and I'm talking. I'm the only one talking. You'd think that I like talking. And in a sense that I do, but it's a quality over quantity thing. And I feel like a lot of the times, the moments that I have to respond to something, they're not long enough for me to give an adequate response. And I have learned, and this may not be a universal consideration, but for me, I have learned that it is better to not respond than it is to respond half-ass. I would rather a person think, oh, Ryker, he takes forever to respond. But when he does, he's mindful with his response, than to think, oh, Ryker responds right away with one-word responses or throwaway interactions. So I understand how various perspectives, various content creators feel about their stuff, and sometimes you just want to get something out there and you're not looking for feedback. You just want to put it out there and you don't even care if anyone watches it. You're putting it out there as an exercise. Because, I mean, you have no idea how many times just coming and sitting in this chair, talking to you guys, before it begins, is such a challenge. And sometimes it's not even about what I have planned or what Raid has planned. It's not even about the music. It's not about the tri-viz. Effort is put into all those things as discipline, as an exercise, right? And why do you exercise? To build muscle. Specific exercises build muscle. Others build skill. Others build sharpness of mind. And sometimes it's good to create as an exercise. You get stronger. You learn more. Even if the end result isn't the greatest work you've ever made, it doesn't have to be. You should absolutely toy with some synths, man. Absolutely. And you should share your process. And if you have questions, I mean, you're in the Wave Makers and you're free to ask questions here as well. We have a number of musicians here. There's probably more synth-related musicians in Wave Makers than there are over here. But you can still get insights if you're interested. And I'd love to just see your journey and your process, sort of getting into music, you know, again, all these years since high school. And the cool thing is, music on Earth these days is so accessible. And it's such a world. It's such a transportive activity. And it's always worth the time invested. Always. I don't know anything else that I can say it is always worth the time invested. But music is always worth the time invested, even if you've got a little bit of time to sit down and just play. It's always worth it. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. I hope to be able to, after the beginning of the year, I'm going to start working on things that I can do to offer, you know, musicians who are part of the TRICOM. You know, in addition to making music available for content creators to use as free music, I also want to make tools available. Preset packs, sample packs, tools. I make a lot of tools for Bitwit. A lot of custom little things, and I don't know how relevant a lot of this stuff would be to a lot of people, but I think that if you're listening to a lot of my music, you know, at least here on the show, then when I show some of these, you know, musical tools and things that I'm using, it might make sense in the context of what you're hearing, and then give you ideas for your stuff, even if it's totally different kind of music. Speaking of music, I saw a great conversation going on in the Tech Chat channel about Spotify and various music services and stuff. I'm a huge stick in the mud, so I'm not a big fan of music streaming services. That's not true. That is not true. I am a big fan, but I'm really torn because here's the thing I found with myself. For years, I ran my own Plex server, and Plex, if you don't know, it's basically Netflix that you run on your own hardware. But it's not just for movies and shows. It's also for music. It's also for photos. It's also for online content and some streaming content. And there's all sorts of stuff that you can add to your Plex server. But it is your server. It's your music. It's your playlists. I think Plex will make smart playlists. So there's some of those kinds of features if that's what you're into. It's not great for music discovery, I guess. You know, so that's where I think like streaming services really come in great to an extent. But when I had my Plex server going, I spent a lot of time buying music because that was my project, right? I had my Plex server. I had a bookshelf. Look, if you want to start collecting books, get a bookshelf. Seriously, you'll be shocked how quickly you start acquiring books if you have a place to put them. And Plex is the same way. You'd be shocked how much music you can enjoy curating yourself. And you build this music library, and you could stream it from anywhere, and you could build your own playlists, and you have no ads at all, because it's your music, and it doesn't cost a dime. And you can go on Bandcamp, and you can support artists. You can buy music. You can help artists. That's not to say people don't get paid from Spotify, but I guarantee you, there are artists who are not getting paid on Spotify. And the way Spotify works, all the platforms work, they're not going to promote little hole in the wall, tiny little artist here who's not going to get very many views. I mean, think about it this way. If left up to YouTube's algorithm, do you think you would be watching this show right now? No. You wouldn't. Because this is not relevant to YouTube's algorithm. We're not playing the game. There's a lot of artists out there who are not playing the game. And once we get to a point where everyone has given up on curating their own music library, tech companies will be in control of what we listen to. And 99% of us will be happy with that. And maybe when you're dealing with numbers like that, it's best to just suck it up and accept it. But I'm digging my heels in. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to maintain purchasing music on Bandcamp when you could just go to Spotify, type it in. There it is. There's Mitch Murder. I don't need to buy Mitch Murder. Just listen to him right here for free. Well, free. So, Mine, you were specifically saying that you're not really interested in streaming. I feel ya. And you want to have a simple player on your phone, transfer music from your desktop. My man, Plex might be the answer for you, because not only can you transfer music from your desktop, you can do it from the actual device. So you can have all your stuff installed on your server at home. Server, it could be a Windows PC, it could be an old laptop, like it could literally be almost anything. I think you could run it on a Raspberry Pi. Don't quote me on that, but I think you can. And then you can sync everything. You can just, like, on the app, just say, download to my phone, and then it'll automatically sync it all. And it has some really great features with music. I will say that sometimes Plex can be a little finicky depending on your home network situation when it comes to streaming high bitrate content. It's not that it can't, because that's false, it can. It's that it just sometimes has a hard time when the amount of bits exceeds the available bandwidth on your network connection. You can transcode though. So depending on the hardware that Plex is running on, you'll be able to transcode anything into anything so that it'll work on anything. Just be mindful, because when you're transcoding, things could be a little touch and go when it comes to skipping around. It's not that it doesn't work, because that's false, it does. It's just that it has problems sometimes when it comes to those very high bitrate files on a wireless network connection. But in the context of what we're talking about, music management, music library management, mobile music access, it is phenomenal. I think everybody should have their own Plex server going. Everybody should. If you can, I mean, if you have the hardware for it, if you got a computer that's running at home that you kind of keep on all the time, throw Plex on there. You'll be so happy when you're on the road. Well, if you have Spotify, you'll probably never need it, but it's still a great way of managing your music library, even if you have a streaming service that you pay for. But I would hate to see something like Bandcamp go out of business because they can't compete with Spotify. And then Spotify and YouTube Music end up being where we can access music. I'm telling you, I'm a stick in the mud. I see the value tremendously. Don't get me wrong. I get it. And it's not that I don't think that it's a good experience. I get it. I had Spotify. I paid for Spotify for a while, and then I left. And look, it's better than YouTube Music, that's for sure. It's better than Google Play Music. That's for sure. It's great. And it's great for music discovery, except you just have to remember the music that you're discovering is within the garden of Spotify. It's not the world. And there's so much amazing music that is out there that if you relegate your music listening experience to Spotify, there's just things that you're never going to find. And that might be okay. Not everyone is blazing trails into the wilderness of unknown audio landscapes, looking for things they've never heard. But if you are, you might not want to stop with Spotify. Use Spotify, find music, and tell me about it. Tell me all the awesome stuff that you're finding on Spotify. And then let's go support those artists. Buy those CDs, buy those albums, download them in high resolution, high bit rate, uncompressed FLAC or WAV files. Listen to them with a decent DAC. Hell, phones these days. Well, I guess I really shouldn't say that. There was a period of time where phones had surprisingly good DACs. Certain brands, I should say. Of course, nowadays phones are all Bluetooth. It's not the end of the world. I mean, audio quality's still very good, but I miss the headphone jack. Look it! I'm a boomer meme. Headphone jack. I want to buy music. Look at me. But I mean, look. There are these Transformers games. I don't know if it's all of them, but the Cybertron games, I think there's 2 of them. They're phenomenal. They're like the best Transformers games. Well, there's another Transformers game that's really good, but the Cybertron games, it's War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. I think Fall of Cybertron was the second one. It's a little better, but they're both really good. And you can't get them anymore on Steam. It seems like no big deal, right? It's no big deal. What if it was your favorite game? What if you just found out about it and you really wanted it and you go to buy it and you can't? Because of licensing issues. There's a lot of games that are not available anymore because of licensing issues. And I'm not going to get political because then I would have to shut all this down. Raid, I'm not getting political. But censorship is also a consideration. As time goes on, certain things that you love will, by certain companies, be deemed inappropriate for one reason or another. Times change. And as such, the progress of time means things will change again and again and again. And as these tech companies start trimming and pruning their content libraries based on the modern trends of the week, before you know it, you're losing episodes of The Office. Or segments. You're losing segments of Chappelle's Show. You're losing segments of It's Always Sunny. You're losing bits and segments of all sorts of things. And it's just a matter of time. No. I'm not going to say that. I'm not ready to say that. These are just some of the concerns that I have. And the fact is, I mean, I'm not anti-Spotify because I'm probably going to end up getting Spotify again. For the discovery purposes. And so many people have it. So many people are sharing Spotify things with me. And it's getting to the point where it's almost like a separate entity. For me, it's like a way of experiencing music. It's not the my music library, but I think maybe I could use Spotify in a way that sort of suits my interests by using it like a discovery platform. And I'll probably pay for it because I vehemently am against advertisement, third-party advertisement. I would like to make a promise to you right now that you'll never see a third-party advertisement on this show. I don't know if it's realistic to make that kind of claim, because I know that some of these things can be out of our control. But boy, I would love a future where I can make that kind of statement and know that I'd be able to stand by it, and know that the systems around me will allow that stance. There is a place for a person who never wants to engage with third-party advertisement and instead wants to find another way to monetize their content, to make money without having to sell a fucking Ridge wallet or Raycon earbuds. That sounded very cynical. I'm not trying to be cynical over here. Maybe a little. Right, South Park. Yeah, that's another one, man. You know, and you think about it, there was a time when you could buy like a DVD box set. I mean, I'm sure you still can, right? I don't know what you would play it on. I mean, you'd have to go find a DVD player somewhere, but you could. And think about that. This old technology would allow you to do something that nowadays is relatively difficult to do. And that is play your own media offline and have access to it anytime. Look, I'm obviously not saying that I don't like technology. I love technology. Technology empowers everything that I do. I love it. I just know that I've seen things go south, you know? There's a one day I wanted to talk to you guys about this BCI stuff, because I have some experience with brain-computer interfaces, or at least that industry, sort of adjacent to that industry. Not here, but you know. And there are some lessons that I've learned through the experiences that I had with that technology, and seeing how some of that technology was implemented on a planet, and how it helped that planet, and how it revolutionized that planet, how it cured homelessness, how it ended depression. And there was a glorious, glorious age that followed for an extremely short period of time. And I'm going to tell you guys this story. Not today. I can't. This is not the place. But we're going to make a podcast, damn it. We're going to do it. I'm going to spill the beans like Kevin spilled his chili. And I think when I ramble and I stammer and I struggle to get the words out sometimes. But a lot of that, I think, is self-censorship. Because before I say anything, I have to think, wait, is this okay? Am I going to get in trouble? Is Raid going to freak out? Is the stream going to go down? Are these off-planet secrets? Is the TRIFORCE even out there anymore? Have they forgotten about me entirely? How about the Galactic Fed? Hell, for all I know, they could be watching this right now still. Things go quiet, you know? We get no disturbances. We don't have any issues for a while, and it's easy to think that everything is good. But you never know who's out there. Not to sound ominous or anything. And you definitely don't want to live your life looking over your shoulder. You'll get a sore neck. So you just sort of have to, you just got to trust. But there are definitely certain things that I know it would be unwise for me to share in this setting. For a number of reasons that I will explain to you on the first episode of that podcast. Poor Kevin. All that work. Does it seem like I'm stalling? Does it seem like I'm not playing the game yet for some reason? It's because I'm not. I'm not exactly stalling. I just feel more like talking, hanging out, than playing a game. I mean, we're gonna play the game because I want to play the game, but I don't know. After a weekend, it's just nice to get together and just hang out. On the topic of me being an old fuddy-duddy, stick in the mud. Fellow old fuddy-duddy and stick in the mud, PewDiePie. Felix recently said something that I really appreciated. I don't have like the story anywhere. I wasn't planning on even talking about it, but there was an article that I read about PewDiePie, and he was talking about donations and how he was like gonna stop accepting donations. And then there were, I guess, a handful of other streamers who recently sort of made like the same stance. And I was very encouraged by that, extremely encouraged, because this is one of the areas that I've always had a hard time, and it's one of the areas that has kind of kept me from taking a leap into online content creation. You know, like I've been creating content endlessly since I've been here, but I haven't been necessarily putting it online because I haven't been a big fan of the online system of things. Not the internet, but the way the system works. And part of that system is accepting donations from viewers. And this is one of those things that I'm gonna think about more. I'm gonna spend more time thinking about this and writing down my thoughts, because I feel like it's really important for me to get my feelings on this really ironed out and really examined from every perspective. But I can tell you that I have always struggled with the idea of accepting money from people who are just simply watching me. I've got a pretty fundamental discomfort with that model. And I understand that this is the sacred calf. Talking about don't disparage donations, man. That's people's living. That is people's income. Cynical take coming in. I think Twitch could have done a better job at figuring out a way to monetize streaming content rather than just putting in a donation system that takes a lot of cues from predatory mobile gaming, and then they put it on the content creator to say, hey, figure out a way to make it worth it. Figure out a way to make it worth it to that 13-year-old kid who got his mom to buy him $25 worth of points or bits or whatever the hell it is. convince that kid to give that to you. And then people did, right? They said, okay, I'm going to come up with a way to incentivize these kids. Because look, come on. The main demographic, right? This is the main model for Twitch. And the main demographic for Twitch is kids. I don't mean tiny little children, but there's a lot of tiny little children on Twitch. They're not the ones, they're not the whales, right? With the credit cards and all that. But my point is, I don't know who is out there watching me. And while I am a huge fan of personal responsibility, and I believe in respecting you enough to allow you to be responsible for yourself. You don't need me to be your nanny to tell you what to do. That's condescending. You don't need anybody to tell you what to do. But a little bit of perspective can go a long way, because we can only see things from one angle. But I think just saying, hey, here's your incentive. When you give me money, you're gonna see a fancy animation on the screen. You're gonna see a little Charizard that moves like this. You're gonna see a little Pikachu that waves, and it's gonna have your name in Comic Sans. And it's gonna say, so-and-so donated $15. If I was playing a video game and I saw a message that said so-and-so just gave me $15, I would not be able to continue this. And you may think, well, that's ridiculous. You're just saying that. No, I'm not. I haven't done this stuff for a reason. Because I've struggled to find a way to fit into this system that I feel so uncomfortable about. And here's where I see some irony, and maybe you guys can help me, because again, my perspective is limited, and I've only been here since 2006. I don't understand everything. But what I don't understand is, if a gaming developer says, hey, you will get preferential treatment, you will get better weapons, you will get better access to the things that you want if you give us a little more money. To me, that is extremely disrespectful of the audience. That's saying some of my audience is more important than others. Some of my audience has money, and those with money get their questions answered. And the way the system works, you have a chat box that's blowing up with messages. And everyone knows it's unlikely for anyone to see my message, but it's just as unlikely for him to see anyone else's. So it's just as likely for him to see anyone's. But then money comes into the situation. And now people with money get their chats put right up to the top with big bold colors. And you think, well, that makes all the sense in the world, and it does, from the person asking the questions perspective and from the person who's getting the money. But I cannot deny that I cannot square inside of me this conflict, that feels wrong, that feels pay to win, for lack of a better term, to say you'll have a higher chance of gaining my attention if you give me money. You don't have to say that explicitly. The system is built for that. The system is built to facilitate that kind of transactional relationship. An artist's got to eat. I've got to eat. I have to figure out a way to make money from what I'm doing with my time, or else I have to spend my time making money. And if art is not involved, I can make money. But I want to do something artistic. And I don't have a solution. I'm a nobody. I'm not sitting here saying, look, this is how it's going to be, or this is the best way to do it, or watch me, I'll show you the right way to do it. I don't know. All I know is that the system that exists right now does not exist in support of all points of view. And some will be able to modify their point of view and make the compromises necessary to have a successful business in this field. Others will not. And they will go until they can no longer afford it. And then they will be gone. Because there will not be a system that can support that individual. And that's why so much of what exists looks so similar. Because the system is designed to create I'm not going to say it. I need to think about it more. I need to think about it more. But I really appreciated seeing some of these people in the streaming space say, hey, we're not taking donations anymore. I would like to never take donations. I would like to offer you something. To me, I feel weird. That would feel weird for someone to say, I'm donating money to you. And I think, what? I'm a musician. I'm making music. Why don't you buy my music? Oh, I don't want your music. This is a donation. Oh, you don't have to donate. No, here, join the TRICOM. That can help. And then you get some value. You get access to the tribrary. You get access to the community. You get access to a whole bunch of other things next year. That feels better for me. That feels like you're buying something. There's a transaction. It's not a donation to a dude sitting in a bedroom playing a video game. I want to give you things. I want to empower you. I don't want to just take your money. I mean, and that's why it's 7:37 and I'm just rambling on here. And these are all the reasons why you may be able to one day say, that's why it didn't work out for that Ryker guy. And I'm right there with you. So if this works, it will be as much of a shock to me as it is to you. But the cool part is, if this works, it will have worked because we did it together. Not because I did it alone. Not because I was an old fuddy-duddy space boomer who had a bunch of boring ideas. But because I had a handful of people who shared certain opinions and certain perspectives. And even if they didn't share them, perhaps hopefully they valued that those perspectives are coming from a mindful place. I want to do what's right by you guys. And I want to do what's right by the art. Because it's so important. It's so important for me to feel good about what I'm doing. It's what gets me here. Through a battlefield that exists between I relate to all the struggles that you guys are going through as much as I can without going through them myself. I have been through a lot, and I know you have been through a lot. And I know 2020 has put you through a lot, and it's put me through a lot. And all that brings us here on November 9th, on a Monday, having just inducted 2 new members. It's a good place to be, and I'm grateful for where we are. And the whole time, the future is sort of covered in fog. But it's sort of cool because the further along we go, that fog is pushed out. Not only in relative amounts to our progress, but in fact, at an exponential rate. And the more of you that join, you put that wind in my sails, and you make me feel like, hey, this is valuable, even if in just a small way. And here we are. And maybe we'll be here in a couple of months. And maybe we'll be here in a couple of years. And if we are, it won't be because the system held us in its hand and said, oh, well, this is what everyone wants. Here, everybody. You know? It'll be because random synthwave discords. It'll be because one-off comments on videos. It'll be because of unforeseen relationships that start on Reddit. Every one of you that have come here have come from somewhere, and there has been something. More than, oh, YouTube recommended this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Hey, I would love a little bit of help from an algorithmic entity. Sure. But I like organic connections even more. And I really appreciate that where we are right now is so ripe with organic connection. And it feels good. And when I see people like PewDiePie and other big players in the space of online content creation making a stand for things that they feel are important, though not at all popular, it makes me feel like there's a chance. It gives me hope for the future of the Ryker initiative more than previously. So there you go. I've done it. I've pulled out my space laser gun, and I've shot myself in the space foot. Old Ryker hates Spotify. He hates streaming. He hates Twitch. He hates donations. Oh, what a chump. And to give you a little bit of insight, I operate on feeling, and then I investigate those feelings. Some feelings are just not thoroughly investigated yet. But look, I'm not on YouTube talking to millions of people. I'm talking to fucking 3 people. 12 people. What? Like, there's not a lot of us. And in the context of this small group of people, that's where these thoughts and things are coming from. So, you know, and for other content creators out there, I know maybe it seems fucked up, right? To shit on donations. Because maybe some of you, maybe that's how you're putting food on your plate. And I'm not here to tell you that that's wrong or that you should feel bad about that. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to operate the way you need to operate. Don't betray yourself. And if you are not betrayed, then fuck me. My perspectives are purely my own perspectives. I'm not playing a guitar right now because I just don't feel like it. Certainly, I don't hate guitar. Maybe later on my feelings will change. And every time you stop by, here I'll be with a little guitar. Things change. But I operate on feeling. And if certain things like donations make me feel uncomfortable, I have to examine that and I have to see where that's coming from. Why do I feel that way? Especially if I'm trying to do something that could benefit from such a system. I gotta figure it out. I gotta figure out what these feelings are. But I definitely know the directions that I'm not gonna go and the things that I am not interested in doing. And I hope that in the process of me sort of being mindful and introspective about these things, I can come up with some ideas that I can share with you guys. And I'm not making any promises. Look, I'm not smart enough for any of this stuff, but I would love for there to be a day where I could have a solution and I could say, look, if you feel the same way, here's how I can help you make money. Here's how I can help you sell your art, put food on the table while staying true to the person, to the artist that you are inside, without having to make those compromises. And without having to lose an audience at the same time. Because I know that a large audience is very important to a lot of people. And just because I'm not trying to get a huge audience doesn't mean that I don't think that anybody should. It's different things have different purposes. And a big part of the reason why I'm not pursuing a huge audience is because that does not sound fun to me. I think if I had a huge audience, it would be less likely for me to show up, if I'm telling you the truth. Maybe some of you guys can relate to this, but I'm sort of, have you ever gone to like a party and when you pull up to the party, you see your friend's car, their girlfriend's car, a couple of other cars, and you're excited. You pull up to the same party, another day, different day, and there's a ton of cars. Same party, same place. More or less the same people. But the quantity, all of a sudden, you sit back in your chair and you realize this is not the party you thought it was. This is a party filled with strangers. And you're gonna have to meet them. And you're gonna have to be charismatic and fun and funny and charming. Ugh. And you contemplate just turning around and driving home. And you hope no one looked out the window and saw you pulling up. Because maybe you could still come up with an excuse to not go. And it's not that you're antisocial, and it's not that you don't want to spend time with people. In fact, you're disappointed that you're not going to be able to go to that party because you really wanted to spend some time with people. But you didn't necessarily want to spend time with 200 different new people that you're going to have to engage with and get to know. It's just a different party. And that's not my party. And it's like, why are you doing stuff on the internet if you don't want to do it in front of millions of people? I don't know any other way to access a dozen people. And if I'm being honest, like this is, I don't know. No, I need to save that for the podcast for sure. Raid will freak out. Okay, I'm not going to get into that. All right. Speedy Lee, if nothing else, you've given me additional motivation for my latest coding endeavor, which will benefit lots of people here. I'll be accepting donations on Ryker's behalf. Look, send all donations to our head of the robotics department, Speedy Lee. All donations to her. I'm forwarding all my Bitcoin to Speedy Lee. Because I believe that whatever the hell she's working on is definitely going to be phenomenal. And I'm excited to see what it is. Nemo, I've most definitely felt that way and sat in the corner all night. I should have gone home. Yeah. You know, and I would say it's don't. It's not good. It's not good to be like, oh, people, oh, effort, no, get it away. I don't know. I'm not proud of that reaction or that response. But it is what it is. And how many years do you try to say, oh, well, I just need to keep putting myself in that situation, and eventually I'll become a people person. I mean, I don't know. I thought for a long time that I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be on stage singing, to be a singer. And I wanted that so bad. And then I ended up on stage, singing. And I thought, well, this will turn into what I want it to be in a little while. It never did. I mean, the shows increased in size and quantity. But I never found satisfaction. And that was a big disappointment. It's sort of like getting stuck on a foreign planet. When you thought you had everything all figured out and you thought you knew where you were going. And then you find out that you fucked up and you broke your PBS. Now you're stuck. Yeah. I mean, and I've powered through in those party scenarios, you know, and I don't, you know, and sometimes good things can come of it, right? Sometimes good things can come of putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. This is not the most comfortable situation. At least when it began, it was very uncomfortable. It's quite a bit more comfortable now. But at the same time, there's certain things that sometimes a note doesn't work, not because it's dissonant. Sometimes a dissonant note is the right note. But sometimes a note doesn't work just because it's the wrong note. It's just the wrong note. And no matter of forcing that note, no manner of coming up with a new motif or a new melody is going to make that note work with that song. And a big part of self-awareness is knowing when something is just not going to fit. Is knowing whether something is worth investing the time to make it work, or if it's just not going to work, in which case you don't want to waste your time and spin your wheels. But you also don't want to give up on things too quickly. That's where life experience comes in, and that's where feedback from friends can be very, very beneficial. Sometimes we don't notice that we're spinning our wheels, and we need someone to tell us. Constructive criticism is a good thing. You know, speaking of wave makers, we were having they were having a conversation, and it was just such a wonderful thing for me to see sort of randomly throughout the day. I popped on and I saw someone posting something, and it was in the collaboration channel, and they posted an idea, and then someone responded and gave feedback on it, and it was such good feedback, and it was received so well. And I was like, man, I wanted to take a screenshot and plaster it all over the internet and say, this is how musicians get better. This is how steel sharpens steel. This is how people help one another climb that mountain. And I was just so touched, and I wrote this whole thing, and I was so excited by it. And the thing with constructive criticism, you know, in that case, and that I pointed out, was that constructive criticism only works when the person receiving the criticism feels like the person giving the criticism gives a shit. It doesn't matter how good the criticism is. Hell, let's not even call it criticism. It doesn't matter how good the insight is. If it doesn't feel like the person giving it actually cares. And sometimes feeling like the person cares, that feeling, that knowledge of knowing that that person cares is more valuable than the construction or the constructive criticism that they give. Because you realize, wow, that person took that time to write that out of their day. I have a busy day. I'm assuming they have a busy day too. And they stopped to share with me their insight on this thing that I posted. Wow. And it's not just a random stranger popping up to say, hey, dum-dum, you're doing it wrong. But it's someone who cares, who is a part of the community, who is there, who you're gonna see, and who sees you, who knows you. And sure, you don't have 20 years of friendship, but concern doesn't need to ferment. I mean, some of you guys, all of you guys, you're all part of this. Even though I don't know you guys. I mean, I've gotten to know you guys. I've gotten to know you through this, through what you've represented of yourself. And it's amazing how valuable these connections just suddenly become. How all of a sudden it's like, oh, I wonder what so-and-so's doing right now. I didn't even know so-and-so yesterday. I didn't even think about this person or this country. Somebody recently joined that server from Kazakhstan. And I thought, never met anybody from Kazakhstan. And now, I'm in a collaborative synthwave project with somebody from Kazakhstan. And that's how I felt when I met Anwar, being in Egypt. And that's, I mean, everybody, all of you guys. And I feel like so many people, like, this is just lost on them because the internet is so big. It's so part of our lives. But being in a little community definitely has its perks. Kazakhstan is the greatest country in the world. Oh, I had not realized. That's good. That makes it even more interesting. All other countries are all run by little girls. Oh, is that true? Oh, is that like some sort of conspiracy? Ooh, little girls are running the world. I had not heard that one. That's exciting, I guess. Definitely flips things on its head. Yeah. Nemo, what country are you running? What are you? Apparently, I'm not the only one here with secrets. All right. All right, Nemo. You tell me your secrets, and I'll tell you mine. We'll have a podcast where we share secrets. I'm like a large man with a bucket of beans over here. It's true. Dropping them. Dropping them like they're hot. All right. I'm going to get some more water. And when we come back, we're going to learn all about Secrets Out, the Lloyd Carnigan podcast. It's a good idea, Sarcastic Warlock. He has many secrets to tell. No, when I get back, we're going to play a video game. If you're still here, and you're still awake, let's play for a little bit. I'll be right back. All right. Believe it or not, it is, oh my God, it's 8:06 already. Look, I wasn't planning on talking that long. I don't even know what I said. I hope none of you came here to watch video games. I apologize. All right, you know, just saying that gives me a whole nother tangent to go down. I apologize. I apologize for what? For not playing a video game? I apologize for not playing a video game? I apologize? Am I being truly impeccable with my word? Am I truly apologizing? Do I feel sorrowful? Do I feel like I have slighted you or offended you? And now I feel a burden that I have to apologize to relieve this burden. Because when I said that, it gave me a feeling, and then I had to investigate. Why? Whoa! Why do I feel that way? I don't know. Well, I guess I don't really apologize because I really just wanted to talk to you guys. And I'm truly grateful that I was able to talk to you guys. And I understand that maybe you didn't come here to be talked to for an hour. But if I could be honest with you, I feel so much better right now than I did 2 hours ago. And it's not because anything I said. It was because I have this perception that you guys are here. And we're hanging out. And I have a perception that the people that I'm talking to give a shit. Because I know you do. And to be able to say that I know that you give a shit is an extremely valuable experience for me to have. And it's an experience that I would like to find a way to facilitate for everybody, you know? I mean, we have plans. I'm really good at coming up with plans. I spent a lot of time in classes learning space planning. A tremendous amount of time. For better or for worse. So I love thinking about the future. And I love thinking about plans. I'm not particularly fond of talking about them because I've learned better. It's better not to talk about your plans. It's better just to do it. But just for funsies, I like imagining. And one of the things that really gets my imagination going is Corridor Digital, the channel on YouTube. I've been such a fan of these guys for such a long time, and seeing them grow is amazing. And they have this whole thing now where they have this website. I mean, it's a lot to get into, but I love what they're doing. And I love how they're able to create all this content based on community feedback, and they're able to fund it based on like they've created a system where they can produce all this stuff, and they can give people a show, be like, hey, you're into this thing, let's do a thing. I mean, it's such part of like the big grand scheme of things here. I would love, so many of you guys are just so good at stuff, and you're so phenomenal at stuff, and you don't even know, you don't even realize how good you are, how valuable what you make is. Because you think, oh, well, you know, I posted that thing and it only got 2 upvotes, so it's not very valuable. It must not be worth my time. It's not worth putting the time into because of a number. You gotta get numbers out of it. Gotta get numbers away. Gotta get numbers numbers are the fucking worst, man. Numbers stop people from pursuing their creative potential because they get this, they want this instant feedback and they want to see numbers. It's not about the numbers. And wouldn't it be neat if there was a way to say, look, here, don't worry about numbers. Here's an income. Have an income, don't worry about numbers, make what you're passionate about. And we'll use our technical wizardry to make it fucking awesome. Sora, it's good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you made it. Yeah, numbers suck. I don't know if it's a viable option for everybody, but for a while, for me, I made a lot of music and I was putting stuff out and I didn't get the kind of responses that I wanted to see online, even though I would get great reactions and amazing responses in person at shows, but I wouldn't get the kind of responses online because you're dealing with 2 very different markets. And approaching those markets are very different. I do way better in person than I do on the internet for some reason. And so for a while, the lack of, you know, like you would work on something and you feel really proud of it because through the process you really feel like you're learning and like you're growing, and you know how much better this is than it otherwise could have been if you didn't put in that extra 10%. You know that you did your best. And even if your best is not as good as fucking Michael Jackson, you still know that your best was something. And it was something for you. And it meant something for you. And it was a sacrifice for you. So then you put it on the internet. And someone says, Michael Jackson is way better than you. Even Michael Jackson's worst song is better than this. And you realize, they're right. Oh shit, they're right. Michael Jackson's got a shitload of music. How could I ever say to somebody, hey, instead of listening to Michael Jackson at any point in time, during the day, during your run, during your drive to work, at any point, instead of listening to Michael Jackson, listen to me. All of a sudden, that sounds insane. But when you think about it, that's really what's going on. You could listen to Michael Jackson, or you could listen to Joe Schmo's power metal garage band. Does it mean that Joe Schmo's power metal garage band is as good as Michael Jackson? Maybe not. But it sure can be disheartening. Because that little shit who said that Michael Jackson is way better had no idea the ingredients of that dish. had no idea what went into that. But how could they? The platform does not facilitate putting a spotlight on the creative process, only the end result. People only care. I'm not gonna make that generalization. It's difficult for people to care about more than the end result when we're surrounded by so many phenomenal end results. And it can really take the wind out of your sails. It can really take your motivation, because you think, why make a podcast about movies if there's already a better one and 1,000 better ones? I am that guy. Why make synth music if Tangerine Dream has already been doing it for 400 years? Just go listen to them. It's gonna be better than my music. Oh, why would I say listen to me if you could go listen to Tangerine Dream? It's a rhetorical question, and I have the answer, but I'm holding off because I want to tell you what I did. And I don't know if it's good, and I don't know if it's bad, but I think it was definitely helpful. I stopped playing shows. And a lot of people didn't understand this. And a lot of people still don't understand it. And I lost friendships over this. I lost amazing opportunities over this. And there was fallout. And it had to be heavily modified in order to run well, as is often the case with fallout. But I needed to fall in love with making music again, because I could not find joy in the end result, no matter how good it was, because I didn't love making the music. And it didn't matter how many times I drove to LA. It didn't matter how many times. It didn't matter. Like all of the shit that you think is so cool, like it doesn't matter when you're not there, when the vibe is not there. It's just hollow. And the spotlight turns on the pain in the ass. It turns to the drive home, and you're up there, and you're singing, and you're spinning your hair around in a circle, and everyone's out there screaming, ah! And they're doing this with their hands, and you look around and there's sweat flying everywhere, and you're controlling your breath, because you got some long verses, and you gotta nail this shit. And you nail it. And everyone out there just gets goosebumps. And they're like, oh, he nailed it. And all you're thinking about is the 3-hour drive home and how tired you're gonna be. And what's gonna be open? Are you gonna be able to hit in and out before it closes? Why do we have to fucking headline? When we headline, we can't make it to in and out. Why can't we just open? And then we could go home early. It makes you hate music. So I stopped. I said, no more. Not doing it. Not playing that show, man. I'm not going. You want to go on tour? Want to go to Germany? Yeah, but I am not going. You want to go to Wacken? No, I don't. I do, but I don't. Because the vibe is not there. So I stopped. And I started playing music. And here's what I did. I told myself I'm going to play and I'm going to write the most interesting music that I can write. and I'm going to delete the project as soon as I'm done. And I did that for years. And I wrote some of the most wonderful music that I've ever written. Conveniently, I'll never have to prove any of this because by nature of this process, it's all gone. But it doesn't matter, because what mattered was the process. I fell in love with making music again, knowing that there is no end result. I'm not making this thinking about the future comment that I'm going to get about the breakdown. The future comment that I'm going to get about the verse being too long. About the chorus not being long enough. Because I knew during the process that this was about the process, not the MP3, not the SoundCloud file, not the Bandcamp upload, not the sales numbers, not the trending numbers, not the likes, not the comments. Because no one would ever know that it existed except for me. And that was so hard. That was so weird at first. It was like you would play something and you would be like, oh, no, this is great. This is super cool, you know? I'm totally down with this. Until you write something fucking phenomenal. Truly phenomenal. Truly amazing. I mean, to you, right? I mean, I'm not saying you accidentally wrote like a Michael Jackson song, but I mean, to you, you wrote something really good. And it existed for you. And you felt the vibes, and you played it, and you created the sound on this planet Earth, and you made those waves come out of the speakers and create a unique new sensation that only you experienced, and anyone else in the vicinity that could hear your loud noise. And then it was gone forever. I say forever. I don't think any of that stuff ever really goes away. At least for me, I feel like melodies and different things, they live on in different ways, and they appear. Sort of like how John Williams will score a film and you'll hear familiar motifs for certain characters as those characters come into the scene. I feel like that's how life is. Certain little melodies and riffs and motifs, things that I may have played in passing that I thought was wonderful that I might lose, and then did immediately lose for years. And who knows, for all I know, some of those things could be revealing themselves once again, growing again naturally through the music that I'm making now. But I would not be at this point. Not that this point is profound, but I mean this point is at least, if nothing else, very, very self-fulfilling. If music feels good, I'm at a good place with my relationship with music. I'm not making the most amazing or complicated stuff I've ever made. I'm making very, very simple music in comparison to the stuff I've done in the past. But I really love the process. And that's the thing that I feel is so important to hold on to. And that's where getting to that point with music is what made me feel okay about starting this stuff, about putting myself on video and putting together this show and coming up with future plans and ideas. And it was that idea that, no, I can do something because I love it. I can do something because the process feels good. And then that's the best place to create from, is because when you're done creating, you can say, there, I did it. And not based on the end product, not based on the end result, not based on the likes or the views or the downloads, but based solely on the process that you went through and the journey that you had, the experience that you had. In space, you don't get a lot of opportunities to go on hikes. But on Earth, well, up until 2020, you could go on a hike anytime you want. And you can go to some amazing places. And what do you do it for? There's no end result of a hike. It's purely the experience, because when you get back home, what do you have? Nothing. You've got nothing. If anything, you've got less energy. Maybe you've got a little more of a tan. I mean, maybe that's... exercise, I guess, maybe kind of, but you don't have to hike to get exercise. The real value of a hike is the experience, is the movement, is the progression, is the view, the scenery, focusing, mechanically focusing your eyes at various lengths in the distance. It's very valuable. Doesn't give you an end product or an end result, but it's still good nonetheless. And that's not to say that I'm never gonna sell music again. I'm never gonna play shows again. I will. But I know that when I do end up on a stage again, hopefully you'll see just as good of a performance as I've ever given. Because I'd like to think that I always put 100% in, even when I wasn't feeling it. But the difference is, what will be happening on the outside will be reflected what's on the inside. Because I found the vibe. I found my vibe. My vibe is the joy of the process of making music. The joy of the process of making these videos. You want to know a secret? I don't watch these shows after the stream. Part of me is mortified to. I'm afraid to watch the show and realize that maybe I had a booger in my nose. And maybe that will make me feel self-conscious in the future. Maybe in the future I'll think, oh, do I have a booger in my nose? And I'll feel too uncomfortable. It's not, I'm not afraid of boogers. I'm just using that as an example. And I just don't want to end up in another situation where I'm so focused on the end product and the end result. And to tell you the truth, when I was doing the recaps, I really like those, and I am very much planning on those being a part of our future. But I'm not gonna lie, it did change my awareness during the moment of making the content, because I knew that, hey, is this gonna be a good thing to recap later? Should I notice the timestamp of this kill so that I could be sure to add that to the recap? And that's very mindful thinking, and I feel like, you know, I have to wear a lot of hats with all this stuff. There's a lot of things I have to be aware of, but there's some things that I just don't want to be that aware of. I don't want to be so introspective, is that the right word, or extrospective, that I'm not experiencing it organically, but I'm instead experiencing it with a checklist or a notepad. Because then it's no longer about the process, it's about the end result. And the process gets distorted by focus being on the end result. The process is mutated. Look at pregnancy. You just have to let it be. You can't try and change the pregnancy so that the end result is, you can. In fact, your species will in not much time. But that's neither here nor there. My point is, sometimes you just need to let things grow. And it's not about, is that watermelon ready to pluck? That watermelon's journey is not about what happens to it after it gets plucked. Its journey is about what happens to it up until that point. And it's worth giving a shit about, because that's the process of life. When a song is done, the process is over. When this is done, the process is over. I can edit it and make a new thing. That will exist as its own thing. And I want to be able to make those recaps, and for that to be its own thing, with its own process to cherish and to value. And I want this to be its own. And it's so hard to keep like this mental separation and be like, no, I'm not going to think about the end of the week recap video while I'm in the week. I'm only going to think about what I'm doing right now. And to tell you the truth, that's why I made Raid. He's supposed to sort of manage some of that stuff, because I would not be here if I had to do all of this stuff. It's too much. It's overwhelming, like mentally. So we get Raid here to help out, but he just causes more grief. Raid we had a difficult weekend. Not difficult, makes it sound like we're fighting. We're not fighting. We're just trying to solve some problems. But we're getting things sorted out. And he's getting upgraded quite a bit. And it'll make things better, make things easier. Because, you know, in addition to there just not being enough time between all of this and then the day job, I'm not able to make those edits, those recaps. But Raid should be able to. He's just such a jackass. He uses all those opportunities to just make fun of me. I'm not really opposed to that either. I kind of appreciate it. You know, it makes this feel like a sort of like a partnership. Sort of. But if you struggle with the same things that I struggle with, then tell me what you've done and what has helped you find your passion for the things that you love doing. And if you're struggling to find that passion, I encourage you, take some time. And this is a great time to do it. I've always loved the end of the year. Again, we don't have years like you guys do in space, so it's neat having this cycle. I've always loved having this end of the year time because you can do shit before the new year. It doesn't matter. A day is a day, right? The last day of one year and the first day of the next, they're just hours passing. But there's something significant mentally about having sort of a checkpoint that you hit and saying, all right, by the time I get to that checkpoint, I'm going to do this thing. Or I'm going to go on a whatever. I'm going to start exercising, or, you know, like resolutions and all that. The New Year's resolutions people do. I kind of like doing it the other way. I kind of like looking at the end of the year and being like, this is my resolution period. I've got a couple of months to get something going or build up a good habit before the new year. Because if you wait for the new year to start to then build the habit, you'd have to be pretty amazing, I think, to make that work. But for me, having that end point, that checkpoint at the end of the year and saying, all right, October, November, I'm really gonna start working on this thing. And then when that end of the year hits, we either got the momentum or we don't. But either way, it's a checkpoint. So if you're, I don't know how much it relates to everything you guys do. And maybe you're thinking, oh, I don't make music, so that's irrelevant to me. But if there's some way that you can understand that what I'm saying, and the core of what I'm saying, is that you'll make better content if you love making content. And if you're making a kind of content that it is impossible to love the process, maybe you need to find another way to make that content. Find another approach. Couple it with something that you fucking love, that you're ecstatic about. This channel is not about the Steam controller. But I love the Steam controller, and it's my safety blanket. So I can have the Steam controller and use that for a jumping off point to feel excited or interested. Find that thing. Find that process that you like doing it, and just spend some time doing it for yourself. If you want to make a podcast or something, make it. And really make it. But make it for yourself. And say, no, these pilots, they're not going to air. Look, Hollywood gets it. Sometimes you've got to experiment. And sometimes you've got to try things. And maybe in the process, you'll learn what not to do. And you'll learn to recast a couple of characters because it's almost right, but not quite. There's a lot of good data to get by just engaging in a process for the sake of the process. But if you can fall in love with the process, then it doesn't matter if people are watching. It doesn't matter if you're getting upvotes or downvotes. And I can't tell you that it'll just come and success will just happen naturally as long as you're pursuing what you love. No, it probably won't. Success probably won't come. And if you don't love the process, then you're in for a world of hurt. But if you at least love the process and you love what you're making, then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. It was time well spent. Time that went to learning things, new skills. Or in my case, learning how to talk for a really long time. And speaking of talking for a really long time, I think I'm just about done. Sora, it feels good knowing that when I'm describing me, that you're identifying with that as well. You know, and I'm sure you're not the only one. I'm sure a lot of you guys are identifying with certain aspects because there's nothing unique about my experience. You know, maybe the specifics might be unique to me, but it's all going to be the same experience for you in whatever other way. And one of the values of this community, even though it's a small community, or should I say because it's a small community, is that if you need a sounding board for your ideas or your creations or your processes, then you have it. You have us. And I know that I am absolutely interested in hearing about what you're all doing and how you're doing it, and what struggles you may be having and how you're dealing with those struggles. And I think that there's a lot of other creative people on our server within our community that will also benefit from just knowing that they're not alone in this process of creative expression or whatever it's called. So if anyone out there is, you know, wants to experiment with stuff and you don't necessarily want to throw it on the internet for a million strangers to shit on, come to the TRICOM and share with us, and we'll support you. And if you want constructive feedback, then we'll give it if we have any. And if you don't, then that's okay too. You can just share what you've made. But take chances. Not everything has to be the biggest and the best. It doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all. Not everything has to showcase every single skill and every single talent that you have. I like to think that I've got maybe a handful of skills and talents that I've yet to reveal that, I don't know, might be fun to showcase down the road. I'm really good with a yo-yo, for example. It's a funny joke. Or is it? One day you may find out. Everybody, I hope you know that I really appreciate you and I really value you. And the truth is, as much as I've been talking about the process, you are part of that process. Because I sure as hell wouldn't be sitting here talking to, well, I was going to say a camera, but I don't feel like I'm talking to a camera. I feel like I'm talking to you. And I wouldn't be doing that if you weren't there listening. I would just be talking to a camera at that point. Not that that would be the worst thing in the world. One day I'm going to show you guys something very embarrassing to help prove my point. I can't yet though, but I will. Because I used to make these videos for nobody. I would record them, not stream them, but I would record them. And I would experiment. And it was very cringy. I won't lie. Especially knowing that there was nobody on the other side of that camera. Very cringy indeed. But sometimes you've got to embrace the cringe. I don't know this, but I feel like those who succeed and those who fail are separated only by the amount of cringe they can endure. And if you could learn to endure the cringe, and when I say cringe, a lot of it is internal. Things really aren't as cringy as you think they are. I'm probably not as cringy as I think I am. Or maybe I am. But the point is, if you could learn to not care, then you're free to pursue your passion. And isn't that a wonderful idea? Okay. That's all. No video games today. Holy shit, it's 8:43. The West Coast. Ladies and gentlemen, the Earth is spinning. All right, just as an example, I was feeling a motif, so I played a little motif. It is not recording, like the music is not recording. And I don't know what I just played. I wouldn't be able to play that again. I don't know what it was. But it felt right, and it felt good, and it felt fulfilling. And then as I'm playing it, it felt good coming out of my fingers. And I don't know if it's good, and it's not technical or amazing. It was a feeling, it was a vibe, and it felt good. And now it's gone. And that's it. It's gone. But that's creative expression. Creative expression is not an MP3 file. It's not a download. It's not a spreadsheet of all your stats for the month. Creative expression is everything before that. It's the part that matters. Okay, for real now. Enough. You guys, you gotta go. I gotta go. Thank you so much for hanging out and for spending some time over here. I appreciate it. Again, I would like to give another welcome to the Spaniard and Wernetta. Thank you guys for your interest, and thank you for joining the TRICOM. I'm very happy to have you. To the rest of you, very happy to have you as well. Thanks for stopping by. Sarcastic Warlock, Dr. Ravenholm, Sora, Nemo, Speedy Lee, whoever else is out there. Hope you enjoyed the vibes. Come back again tomorrow for more. And hey, we might even play a video game. All right. Good night, everybody.